Well, welcome everybody. Appreciate you taking the time, for those of you here in person, to watch this, and for those of you who are watching the recording, we appreciate you taking the time to hear a little bit more about our program at CSU Law, the Master of Legal Studies in Cybersecurity and Data Privacy. So I am Brian Ray. I direct the Center for Cybersecurity and Privacy Protection, as well as the online MLS in cybersecurity and privacy, which is a core piece of the center's work. I'm also the Associate Dean for Faculty Development and Online Programs here at CSU Law, which encompasses this program as well as a couple other online things, including a new online Juris Doctorate that we launched this year. But I've been doing online education since I launched this program, going back to 2020 is when we first launched, spring of 2020. Really pleased to have with me today Zain Zafar. Zain is wrapping up the degree this semester, and while he was still taking our courses and before he finished it, moved into a new role that's in this space as governance risk compliance analyst at NetJets. So we're really pleased to have Zain with us. I'm going to quickly stop sharing the slide deck, and Zain and I are going to have a nice, one last. Zain and I are going to have a conversation about how he got here, what his experience was like while he was here, how it prepared him to land the job that he landed, and to look at the marketplace in general. And then we'll open the floor for any questions that folks have for Zain. And then I'll pivot back to the slide deck and walk you through some of the more details of the program that we don't cover in the conversation with Zain, and tell you a little bit about application process and deadline. So let me pull out of the slide and welcome Zain. Hey Zain, how are you doing?
Good, Brian. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Early spring here in Cleveland, warming up already. Having a good semester. So tell us a little bit about your background before you started the program, Zain. What were you doing, and what made you interested in this space generally?
Yeah, so I'll give some background information. I used to work as an anti-money laundering analyst for KeyBank. And prior to that, I was doing anti-money laundering work for a consulting company before that. But the whole reason why I got interested in cybersecurity and data privacy was my senior year at Ohio State. I was a security and intelligence major, specializing with international studies, and I took an information security course with Helen Patton, and it kind of opened my world to cybersecurity, how it involves all aspects of the business. And I graduated from Ohio State, and I started applying to cybersecurity jobs. And unfortunately, for about 4 or 5 months, I was not getting any responses at all. And so that led me to pursue a career in compliance and with anti-money laundering. And that's how I got my start. And then in maybe May of 2021, I did a call with you, Brian, and I also did a call with Julie. I remember the call very specifically because I was on a long drive to Toledo, Ohio for a COVID shot. And I was talking to you about the overall aspects of the program because I was someone who tried to pursue cybersecurity certifications and really struggled with it because, certification studying, oftentimes lacks deadlines, lacks self-discipline. You're not really invested in the coursework. And it's very hit or miss. And so I was talking to you about my compliance experience, how I wanted something that would combine compliance work, some legal aspects, and then still give me a basic foundation in cybersecurity. And that's what led me to the process of applying for the program. And during at the same time, I also got, started the process of getting married. So my life all of a sudden went into
Big
a very
changes.
fast pace. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So you touched on it already. It's the mix we had, but tell us just a little bit more. What interested you about this program? What other kinds of programs were you looking at, if any, and what made you decide to pick us?
So yeah, I looked at other cybersecurity programs from like Ohio State, Western Governors University, etc. But what the aspect that gave me the Cleveland State edge, I would say, is that it combined both legal compliance coursework. So we know we do work with GDPR, which is a data privacy regulation. We do a lot of legal analysis, legal writing papers, but we get a basic foundational knowledge in cybersecurity. We do a couple of technical courses, and the other degrees that I was looking at, they were just solely focused on cybersecurity and were very technical. And that wasn't something I was looking for. I wanted something that gave me a basic foundation in multiple areas, compliance, legal, and cybersecurity. And that's what I felt like the Cleveland State MLS degree offered me.
Hmm.
And additionally, it's a program that's fully online, and it was very much achievable to do with my full-time job. And so that's what gave me the edge of this is a program local to my community. At the time I lived in Cleveland area, and this is something where the coursework is going to be very relevant. And the degree itself, the program, correct me if I'm wrong, is not that old. So like the coursework is being updated, um, and the classes offerings were very nice as well.
Yeah. And I'll give you the survey of the courses that we have and talk a little more about some of the things Zane's touching on a little bit later when we go back to the slide deck. But tell us a little bit. So you were attracted, it was online, you were going to continue working full time. You worked full time throughout it. Tell us a little bit about what that was like. So our course, just to preview it, it is a part-time course, so it's possible to accelerate it if you want to some extent. But generally speaking, we recommend that students take two courses a semester. It's 10 courses total, so 5 semesters, and we run those courses fall, spring, summer. So really, you can get through in pretty much a calendar year if you stay on that track. Although, as you might talk about, you can also downshift and spread out those courses a little bit longer, and we'll work with you to do that. And then, like correspondingly, if you want to really upshift, try to take more, we can work with you on that as well. But tell us about what was it like, especially in the when you were on that standard path of two courses working full time.
So yeah, I was in the process. I had gotten married and I was taking cybersecurity one and American law. So that's about 8 hours a week, 9 hours a week that I would dedicate. And what I would really tell people who are debating, do I have enough time for this? You have to basically crank out 4 or 5 hours of work every Saturday or Sunday. As long as you do that, it's about 30 minutes to an hour each day during the week dedicated to your coursework, and you should be able to learn the material and perform well in the courses. And that's what gave me that aspect was, I worked from home. I didn't have to deal with the time wasting of commuting to school, commuting back. Everything was online. All the materials were online. So if I wanted to get ahead and crank out the homework for the whole week, I could do that. If I wanted to like progressively get ahead multiple weeks because I knew I had a big family event or a wedding event, it would allow that. Now there were certain weeks where it would be challenging when I had like multiple final exams, and my full-time job also got a little bit busy, and it may have been like a 55 hour a week, but you're understanding that you're able to continue working a full-time job, and you're getting continual education. And in my current employer, right, they have told, they allow sometimes for, additional time for studying or, additional breaks, and I do
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that. And so I would tell people that the coursework is manageable. You have to maybe cut back a little bit on your personal life in terms of hanging out with friends, but it's also very much doable. Like there's multiple times where I would do 50 hours or it would be less because I would do the coursework much quicker,
Yeah.
and I would make into chunks. And Thursday nights when the discussion posts were due were always, a little bit more challenging. I would, might be going to bed at 11 p.m., 11:30 p.m., but that's only 1 or 2 nights a week where I was,
Yeah.
you know, dealing with both a full-time job and work. And I would oftentimes make sure during the week I would instantly take a break from work after I finish about 30 to 40 minutes and then go straight to my homework. And as long as I crank that out, listen to one lecture, did one homework assignment, the overall workload wasn't aggressive. I will say in this program, I've done both. I have done the in-person class at one point, and that was an optional course that was outside the program that I took. And that was very much challenging because I was multiple times a week spending 45 minutes on driving back and forth. But with this program, when if you take the scheduled courses, it's all online, so you're saving a lot of time with just the driving.
Yeah, and just amplifying a couple of those things. So we have a 10 course package. We built 10 dedicated courses for this program that are asynchronous, except for some live classes, usually somewhere between 2 and 4. One course has and the live classes are optional, and we record them. So you post them, but we heavily encourage you to attend them because it really is a chance to get to know the professor and get to know each other. Um, and generally speaking, the work is done each module is done over the course of a week, although for certain components, there are internal deadlines to that. So Zane mentioned the discussion post in my course. Most of the courses that have a discussion post, they're due Wednesday or Thursday, the initial post, because then you have to respond and your colleagues need a chance to respond to you. So for the most part, you have from that, in essence, Monday to Sunday to finish most of the work, but you got to get some of it done ahead of time to do certain things along the way. And then, although we have that 10 course package, which is structured and we offer them in rotation so that you can finish in that 5 semester sequence if you start in a fall or a spring. We make sure that we've got them available so you can finish all of them. We also have flexibility. You're a graduate student here at CSU, and we offer a number of other courses, both within the law college and in other colleges that are related to cybersecurity and data privacy. We don't schedule those, and they're not all asynchronous, but a number of them are online. And then if you're local, as Zane was, and you want to make the effort, and we get permission from the instructor, we're always happy to work with you to get you into work with you to do alternatives. You have to get 30 credits total in the program, and you have to do certain foundational courses that we offer, but we do allow you to take other electives as substitutes if you'd like. Okay, so then let's talk about where you're at now and how this program, how you feel it prepared you for it. So tell us about what's the role you're in right now at NetJets.
So I'm a governance risk compliance analyst at NetJets. So my primary work is I do the cybersecurity trainings for the new hires and recurrent trainings for our pilots and flight attendants. So I've done cybersecurity trainings for people who are in our Lisbon, Portugal office, London office, and in person in Columbus, Ohio. I also work on our cybersecurity specifications, policies, and standards. And then I also do a lot of compliance regulatory work. So dealing with PCI, GDPR, other regulations that we have to, other data privacy laws that we deal with. And so I will say, compared to my previous roles in anti-money laundering, this is the career that I love, right? This is a field that I have always wanted to work in for the last 3 or 4 years. And once I started working here and I started doing the work, my overall mood shifted. Like it's every day I look forward to coming to work because this is the
Great.
field that I have a lot of passion for. And um it took a minute to get this cybersecurity job. I leaned on Brian. I leaned on Spence Witten, who's a professor in the program. I leaned on my mentor Helen Patton, who's a advisory CISO at Cisco. Um, I leaned on a lot of different people, and finally a role opened up in NetJets for this current position. I applied. I mentioned, the classes I've taken in my master's coursework, right? I'm someone who had done vulnerability scanning in one of our technical cybersecurity one classes. Someone who had done basic pen testing things in our technical capstone. But I was also someone who's done a legal analysis in Brian's American law class. I understand how to read a data privacy law and understand the minor nuances of regulatory frameworks. So when I was doing the interview process, I was confident in the work that I could do. And a lot
Good.
of the work that I do on a daily basis is sending a lot of emails to, and analyzing data privacy laws, understanding what are exceptions, and doing a lot of, honestly, this job stresses my writing skills a lot more than I thought it would. And those
Mm-hmm.
are writing skills I developed in the master's program. And as I was doing the master's coursework, um, the material became more relevant to my job actually. Like I did a cybersecurity 2 class last semester. We kept on discussing firewalls. at NetJets, I've done some work with our cybersecurity engineering team, so I was learning about how they process and what their processes are. And so it's a lot of combination. And I will say once the the job finally landed for me, it was a perfect fit, and the degree's content was very helpful.
All right, and so I think you covered that. That is, what is it? What we advertise as the key benefit. The real unique aspect of our program is you'll get some technical grounding in the two courses. Well, three courses really that Zane mentioned: Cybersecurity One and the Technical Capstone. In particular, we've configured to be fairly technical in this program, but accessible to people without a technical background. And you did not, although you were in this space, you were in the policy side of the space. So you correct me if I'm wrong, you did not come in with any technical background. Is that right,
No, I
Zane?
didn't have a technical
Yeah.
background. No.
And so Cybersecurity One, the technical capstone, and then Cybersecurity Two, which blends policy technology. It's looking at control sets and how, from a technical perspective, those controls map to or satisfy requirements of laws and regulations in the area. Um, how did it feel jumping into Cybersecurity One?
It was a gradual shift. There were Spence Witten who's teaching those courses, right? Some aspects, some of the labs I found it very challenging, but he's very helpful, and the content that you learn is very helpful. So, in cybersecurity one, and then the technical capstone, especially, the labs got harder and harder, but they also got more interesting and more fun. And then when you're applying it to your core, my real job, right? Like when we talk about vulnerability scanning, because I've done that in my master's
Yeah.
program, I understand what the results mean. I understand what low risk, medium risk, high risk means. And so I will say the technical aspect is very helpful. Like at one point you're doing the CompTIA pen testing plus, you're basically doing a material of that certification. And so you gain a very strong technical aspect in that, but you also know how to frame it and pair it with the policy side and the
Hmm.
writing side. And there's a lot of people in the cybersecurity field who don't have strong writing skills, who don't have strong analysis
Right.
skills.
Right.
They're very
Right.
technical people, so they can't really explain the problem. And with cybersecurity, a lot of times, from my experience, I'm dealing with people who have a non-technical background. They want to know,
Right.
well, Zane, why do I have to deal with PCI
Yeah.
compliance? And I have to explain to them, well, these are the requirements. This is the analysis. This is why we have to face it. But at the same time, I got to talk to the technical people and say,
Hmm.
hey, this is what I know. This is what the framework or the data privacy law says. How can we combine the two? And so, yeah, I would say when you initially start this program, do not be afraid of the classes being too technical. The professors are very um, helpful and understanding in teaching the content. If you don't understand something, you can easily reach out. And Brian, you really haven't referenced this, but like you think in an online program, oh, okay, you probably don't deal with the classmates at all. You don't ever meet them. I had a group of classmates that I
Yeah.
met we went to some restaurant or something by Cleveland State, and we used to have
Becky.
hangouts. We used to go to like other restaurants, right? And talk about the coursework, talk about the assignments, and uh see what other things we could help each other with. So you do develop,
Yeah.
because that cohort that I started with, we large in part for the first year or so took the same courses, and we were able to help each other out.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's an important part of it. So, um, before I return to the cohort
Mhm.
aspect, in terms of the coursework, those three technical courses, the rest of the courses are law related, although some, all cybersecurity and data privacy. And so the raison d'etre of the program, which evolved out of a program we still teach to JD students, which is a smaller certificate, fewer courses, is it doesn't matter where you're at. If you're on the legal compliance side, you need to understand the technology enough to, as Zane pointed out, communicate and understand the results of the technical side. And then likewise, even if you're on the technical side, especially as you move up the ranks, you've got to be able to communicate. You have to be able to understand what it is that you're seeing and translate that, both map it to the law, because that is what's driving the risk in most instances, and then it communicate to the board, communicate to, if you're not at the CISO level, communicate to counsel's office or somebody like Zain, who you're working with, to figure out, all right, how do we know? How can we certify that we've done the things that these laws require? And so that's when we were teaching it just to JD students, they were all lawyers, and we knew they needed to talk to the technical folks. This program, we recognized and we get a mix of folks who have technical backgrounds and who don't, and we're getting both sides of that 360 degree. Now, in terms of cohorts, I mean, Zain was fortunate. I think almost everyone in your cohort was local, so you guys both could do it physically and virtually. But our cohorts, we bring on people in the fall and the spring. And as Zain said, if you stay on that track of 2 a semester, you'll be in the same courses with each other each step of the way. We roll you in with other folks, and once you get out of the first 2 courses that are the baseline courses, so you get a chance to meet everyone. But advantage of the live classes is you're seeing folks on a regular basis. So most of our cohorts create, group meetings or other ways to communicate and interact. And you really are getting to know the professors. So that's the other key thing that distinguishes us from other online programs. We don't have TAs. You're not getting taught by graduate students who are effectively teaching content that some other senior faculty created. That's not the law school model. Law school model is the faculty who created the material or who is expert in it. Because sometimes we have transitions. Right now, Cyber 2 is a transition where the faculty member is teaching material that she didn't create, but she's the expert. And so we have a mix of folks who are full-time academics, although the vast majority of our folks are really experienced professionals who created the courses either on their own or with somebody else, but they're teaching it. They're the experts, and they're teaching it, not filtered through a graduate student who is semi-expert. All right, so I'm going to open the floor real quickly, and anybody who wants to ask a question of Zain, now's your opportunity. If you have a general question about the program, ask you to save those until the end. We're going to excuse Zain here in a couple of minutes once the questions run out. But any other question, you can either raise your hand or I'll monitor the chat. You can pop it in the chat. All right. Well, if you think of something, feel free to email, and we're happy to follow up on that. And then I'm going to open the floor for questions generally about the program here in a minute. But I'm going to excuse Zain for now. He just finished a busy season, and he's also taking a class with me again. So, although I think you're ahead now, I'm behind in giving you feedback. But thank you, Zain. That was a great conversation. Really appreciate your insights. Congratulations again on landing the job that you were looking for. And we'll definitely get you back.
Yeah, see you at graduation.
All right. Thanks, Zain.
Thank you.
All right. I am now going to switch back to our PowerPoint, and we will keep moving through. So who's this program for? As I said, this program is for really anyone who's interested in this space. If you have a technical background, we get folks who are senior cybersecurity roles already, get folks who are in IT or junior on a cyber team and they want to move up the ranks. And when we get folks who are in compliance roles and they're interested in doing more and more of this, and then we get folks who are interested in transitioning to the field generally. But what we give you is a 360-degree view, as Zain and I talked about. Some technical grounding combined with a really in-depth understanding of the rapidly evolving laws and regulations and how to put those things together. And so, as I mentioned, the emphasis of the degrees on the legal side. These are just some examples. I just came from a conference with some of the most senior attorneys, technical folks working on this in the United States, and it just keeps changing. It is just fascinating to watch. The Securities and Exchange Commission domestically has issued reporting rules, both about data breaches and then also about potentially how those breaches might affect the stock share and the value of the company that folks are grappling with right now. State laws, I think I heard in that forum, we're up to 14 or 15 It just keeps getting more complex, and it's not going to stop because the problem keeps evolving. Again, the field is growing. It's growing both on the technical side and it's growing on the legal compliance side. That is not going to change because, again, the threats keep changing and the regulatory environment keeps changing. So Zain and I talked about several of these pieces. I'm just going to quickly now tell you how the program works. Again, if you stay within this package we've created for you, you start with Introduction to American Law and Cyber One. We start almost every cohort with those two. Sometimes we'll swap out legal writing for Introduction to American Law. Those two courses form the baseline of the legal side. Introduction to American Law gives you a survey of the major areas that you'll encounter. I created that course and almost always teach it. Sometimes I have another talented faculty member who will do it with me or alongside me. And then legal writing goes deeper into, it's really legal writing and research into how you use research and to some extent develop legal materials in this space. Because as Zain mentioned, communication is really key on both the technical and the legal compliance side. And so being able to consume materials that come from the legal compliance side and to create them, if you're in that role, you get those baselines through those two. Cybersecurity One, as Zain mentioned, taught by Spence Witten, that and the technical capstone are our two most technical courses. But we really hold your hand. If you don't have a technical background, don't worry about it. Cybersecurity One and Two are courses we teach to law students as well, and we created them in ways to really provide on-ramps to people without a technical background. And then privacy law and management is the other requirement on the legal side. So Introduction to American Law, legal writing, Cybersecurity One, privacy law and management are the requirements. The other courses, as I mentioned, there are sometimes alternatives that you can look at that we're happy to talk to you about once you're here. But this is the recommended package. So privacy law and management is a survey of all the major laws and regulations. It gets complicated, as I said, they're changing, but focused on the US along with GDPR in Europe. And I helped create that course with Kirk Harith, who is the cybersecurity strategic advisor for the state of Ohio, former chief privacy officer of Nationwide Insurance, really deep expert who he got started in this field before it was a field. And now is one of the senior people. He creates policy for the state of Ohio. Corporate Compliance 1 and 2 are bookended courses. Cyber sits, Cybersecurity and Privacy sit as part of the compliance office in most organizations. And so understanding how it fits in with that and what it means to embed these technical issues into a compliance program that is focused on the law gives you that bigger picture, pulls the lens back. HIPAA and privacy, that's the healthcare law at the federal level. It is still the most comprehensive and most extensive federal law in the space, and it maps to one of the major frameworks, NIST. So understanding how HIPAA works, and almost every organization has a HIPAA compliance issue, unless you're very small. And so we teach that as a kind of representative example of how regulation works at the federal level in this space. Cyber law then pivots to criminal law, national security aspects. Every cyber attack has both of those things. Well, at least has criminal law, and most of them are emanating from other countries, at least the really significant ones that occur. And so understanding how those laws work and how you work with FBI, domestic law enforcement, and what the international landscape looks like. It's taught by a professor who's former member of Cyber Command and is a full-time prof at the Air Force Academy, and he does this as a side for us, which we're really fortunate to have. And then, as we mentioned, the technical capstone, Cybersecurity 2 is the second technical course, or the one of 3 technical courses. They don't have to go in sequence. Cybersecurity 2 looks at how you how you identify controls that allow you to comply with major cybersecurity regulatory frameworks. And the technical capstone, as Zain mentioned, is really mapped to the Certified Ethical Hacker certification and gets you additional technical depth, and also taught by Spence Witt. So as we mentioned, we give you that 360-degree view. You really learn, as Zain said, to put these things together, whether you're sitting on the compliance side, legal side, or whether you're sitting on the technical side, how to talk to one another, and how to understand how the technical issues that are coming up translate into and are affected by the legal and regulatory compliance issues. Okay, so we got some time. We do not currently bring on summer cohorts. So the next cohort we'll be bringing on starts in fall, September 3rd. So you have until August 2nd. That said, we encourage you to apply early and get your materials in. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time for us to get everybody's pieces in there. You got to complete an online application, give us a CV, a resume, and then draft a short essay. That essay is mainly so we can understand your motivations. Want to make sure this program is right for you. And so we review those, and sometimes we'll reach out after reading the essay just to make sure that you know what you're getting here and it's not something different that you might want to get. And then your official transcripts. So got the dates here. You can also see them on our website. Zain mentioned Julie DiBiasio. Julie is currently on maternity leave, so we've got another fantastic woman, Elizabeth, who will talk to you initially. But I see all the emails that come into mlsonline@law.csu.edu. So if there's something that I feel like I ought to weigh in, I'll reach out directly, or Elizabeth will refer you to me. But I'm always happy to answer questions and have conversations with folks. As Zain mentioned, I had a conversation with him before he decided to come to us. And so always happy to communicate, make sure the program is right for you, answer your questions. All right, so with that, I'm going to stop sharing and see, are there any questions now about the program or anything else? All right. Well, with that, I'll let you go. We will be sending the recording of this out in case you missed anything, you want to rewatch it. But otherwise, feel free to reach out to us, and hopefully I'll be seeing some of your applications before August. Take care, everybody.